All right. We ready for the next one? I'll just dismiss that. Okie dokie. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our third reading of Boy Overboard by Morris Gleitzman. I'm here. I'm in the drama room. It's a little bit echoey. I'll try and do the next two installments from here so that I get it all organised. We are on to chapter 7, page 34. You ready? Here we go. I'm so angry I could punch a tank. I don't, because there isn't a tank in our living room. Plus, I'm in too much shock to punch anything. Dad's in the other room, rolling up the prayer mats and packing them into a bag. Mum's taking a picture I painted in class off the wall. This can't be happening. We can't just be abandoning our home. Dad only finished replacing the cracked mud bricks in my room last week. He promised if I'm good I can have lino on the floor. I don't want to go either. Bibi doesn't either. If that camel dung government comes round here, she hisses, they'll get a face full of rocks. She kicks the living room wall. Mum grabs her and hugs her tight. Bibi's shoulders slump and her whole body starts shaking. Mum, she sobs in a tiny voice, I'm scared. I know how she feels. I can see Mum just wants to hug Bibi for several hours, but instead she goes over to the candlestick cupboard. She takes the candlestick out and unwraps the old blanket from around it. Even though the room is getting gloomy in the dusk and the candlestick is a bit grimy with soot and wax, it glows in her hands, especially the precious stones. Mum turns to me and Bibi. This will keep us safe, she says. Bibi stops crying. The candlestick's been in Mum's family for hundreds of years. Her ancestors used to burn a candle before they went into battle. Mum has always told us that as long as we've got it, we'll be safe. And it's true. Mum has burned candles through some really long air raids and we've never had a scratch, except for the taxi. I wish she'd burn a candle now so we don't have to leave. Mum gently wipes Bibi's eyes and nose with her sleeve. That's one of the great things about Mum. She doesn't mind wiping up dribble even when it's not hers. Jamal, says Mum, excuse me, go into your room, pull your curtain down and fold it into a knapsack. Pack your clothes into it and whatever else will fit. I stare at her, praying she'll change her mind and say we can stay. Now, she says. Now, before I move on, that's the end of the page. A couple of things. They're pulling together the most important things that they own. And the first one that they start rolling up is the prayer mats. Now, for those of you who know or don't know or whatever, when you're a Muslim, you have to pray 5 times a day and you have to pray facing Mecca. And Mecca, depending on where you are in the world, Mecca might be towards the east, it might be towards, Mecca is a place. It might be to the north, it might be to the northwest, wherever it is that you have to pray. So you roll out a prayer mat and you pray towards Mecca. And so prayer mats for Muslims are extremely important, and you're going to take your prayer mat before you take an extra jacket, for example, or a jumper when you're packing up your things. Another thing that they're going to be taking is this candlestick or a candle holder. So it's not the candle itself, it's the holder that the candle goes in. And that's really important, and it's sort of like a protective talisman, we might call it. And don't forget, the mother's ancestors are desert warriors. So they're the ones who have been going into battle and doing all of that sort of stuff, and they're taking the candlesticks with it. One of our assessment tasks is thinking about what would you take if you were in this situation? If you had to flee your home, what would you take with you? What are your treasures that you couldn't leave behind? Anyway, think about that for later. Carrying on. It's a voice she uses in class when I'm daydreaming about soccer or when Bibi's getting carried away in a debate. But we're not the ones getting carried away now. They are. Dad's in their room, stuffing clothes into a bag. Mum's heading into Bibi's room to get Bibi started on her packing. I go into my room, but my arms are too heavy to lift up to the curtain. Instead, I just stare sadly at the things that won't fit into a rucksack. My tank's made out of hand grenade cases, a bleached bone that Yusuf reckons is the leg bone of a fighter pilot who crashed in the desert and got eaten by scorpions. My cardboard soccer balls, the ones I made before Dad bought me a real one. Remember how important soccer ball is to him? After a while, I hear Dad come out of his room and go down to the cellar. I follow him. Halfway down the steps, I stop. In the flickering candlelight, I can see Dad standing at his oven, the oven that was his father's and his grandfather's too. Dad loves that oven. That's why he gets up at 3 a.m. each morning and bakes bread, even though he hasn't got a baker shop and has to sell it in the taxi. Dad is stroking the warm bricks. I can't hear what he's whispering, but I can see the sadness in his face, and I realise he's saying goodbye to his oven. Then I see that Mum is down here too. She's got the spade and she's digging a hole in the dirt floor of the cellar. Piled up next to the hole are the school mats and books and paintbrushes and the blackboard in pieces. Mum's burying our school. My eyes fill with tears again to see that. This time they're painful tears. Mum and Dad look so miserable. None of us want to leave. I see something on the cellar floor next to the pile of school stuff. It's my painting, the one Mum took off the living room wall, the one of me scoring a goal in the World Cup final. I go down the steps and pick it up and peer at it in the gloom. In the painting, I don't look like a baker. I look like a desert warrior. I dry my tears. Suddenly, I'm determined to do it. Find a way for us to stay. Chapter 8. Overboard, chuckles Yusuf's grandfather. They're saying he's gone overboard. I stare at the TV, puzzled. I've been watching the match, but I haven't really been thinking about it. I've been trying to think of a plan so we don't have to leave our home. On the screen, a Liverpool player is being sent off by the referee for kicking the Chelsea goalkeeper in the head. The referee is angrily showing him a red card. The crowd is booing. The commentators are talking excitedly. It looks like an accident to me. The Liverpool striker was attempting a spectacular scissor kick and the poor Chelsea goalie's head got in the way. Overboard, chortles Yusuf's grandfather, his long beard jiggling with amusement. I wish he'd laugh a bit more quietly. Bibi's asleep. If she wakes up and finds Mum and Dad aren't here, she could get panicked, even though they've just gone to warn the parents of the other kids from school. Yusuf's grandfather's cellar is a pretty scary place for a little kid, especially the souvenir Simpsons tea towels from London stuck all over the walls. In Afghanistan, if a person's skin goes yellow, it means they're probably going to die. Sorry. God. That's the bell. Sorry. When they say someone is probably going to die, it indicates that they're very, very sick. And when you are living in a country that has been at war for 30 years, people are going to get sick with all sorts of different diseases and illnesses, and they may not have the infrastructure to be able to care for people, particularly with a chronic disease. A chronic disease that might be, in this case, would be some sort of liver damage maybe that makes you go jaundice. So that's what I'm going to guess with that one. So it's sort of an indication of the hospital system in Afghanistan. When we're looking at this one as well, they have gone to Yusuf's grandfather's house because that's a safer place, and they're hiding in the cellar. And for those of you who don't know what a cellar is, it's usually underground, and it's usually, so if you've got your floor level and then you go downstairs and then it's underground, and that's often where you would store food over the winter and things like that, because it's a cooler place usually, or it's a more temperate place. And that's where they're holed up as well. You notice here, Bibi's asleep and Jamal is still trying to protect her, because culturally, he's the brother, he's the male, he's the boy. He has to be the protector of his sister, which is pretty interesting too. And she's probably used to being protected as well. Remember, she's pretty naive. All right, carrying on. I glance over at Bibi. Luckily, she's still asleep, and Yusuf has dozed off on the mattress next to her. Why are they saying the Liverpool player went overboard? I asked Yusuf's grandfather. There's no boat there. It's a soccer pitch. Chuckles Yusuf's grandfather. You ask hard questions. That's the problem with watching soccer on Yusuf's grandfather's illegal satellite TV. I don't speak English, so I can't understand what the commentators are saying. Luckily, Yusuf's grandfather does, because he lived there once. In English, says Yusuf's grandfather, the word overboard also means to do something that is bold, wild, dangerous, and daring. I'm not sure exactly what he means. Well, For example, he says, seeing my frown, if a desert mouse urinates on the electrical wiring of an anti-aircraft gun, hoping to make it fire and shoot down a plane so he can see if there's any cheese in the pilot's lunchbox, that's going overboard. Now I understand. My heart is beating faster. I stare at the screen. Do you want me to take Yusuf up to his own bed? Asks Yusuf's grandfather, so you can have the mattress. Oh, no, thanks, I say. I'm not tired. I'll watch some more soccer if that's okay. I've got too much to think about to go to sleep. You don't feel like sleep when you just decided to go overboard. That's fine, says Yusuf's grandfather. I'll watch with you until your parents get back. The next match is Charlton Athletic fighting for survival. If they lose this game against Manchester United, they'll be relegated out of the English Premier League and their lives will be full of shame, misery and grief. While they play their hearts out, I carry on trying to think of a plan. Wish I could go to the city and get the government out of bed and tell them what they're doing to our family. But they've made my mum cry. How they've stopped me getting lino. But I can't. I don't even know where the government lives. Manchester United are playing magnificently as usual, and Charlton are struggling bravely, very bravely. They score the first goal, their fans roar, and that's just in the stadium. I know that all around the world, other Charlton fans are watching TV and cheering and weeping and hugging each other. At this moment, they'd do anything for their brave Charlton Warriors. Suddenly it hits me. A plan. Just as suddenly the TV goes fuzzy. The government has banned TV, so Yusuf's grandfather has installed his illegal satellite dish on an erect military communications tower at the edge of the before I noticed. Trouble is, the picture goes fuzzy every time there's a sandstorm, or a plane flies over, or a jackal scratches itself in the desert. Tonight I don't care, because my brain is already going overboard. If I get very good at soccer, I say to Yusuf's grandfather, do you think the government will forgive Mum and Dad? Yusuf's grandfather looks at me. I can see he's not sure what I'm on about. If a person gets really good at soccer, I say, so good that he inspires the government to start a national team, so good that he helps them do really well in the World Cup, do you think the government would stop being cross with that person's parents, even if that person's parents had been running an illegal school? Yusuf's grandfather stares at me for a long time. It wouldn't matter if they stayed a bit cross, I say after a while, as long as they let that family live in their own village without bullying them. Yusuf's father reaches across and grips my shoulder. He's never done that before. Jamal, he says, his voice sort of thick. You are a good boy, but things are very difficult for us. Our people are not liked by many of the other people in this country. This has been going on for hundreds of years. I nod. Mum taught us this in school. Yusuf's grandfather knows a lot for a person whose TV only picks up the sports channel. Our problems are many, says Yusuf's grandfather. They started long before this government. A tear is rolling down his cheek into his beard. I stare at him and suddenly I realise just how important my plan is. If I can become the star of the Afghanistan national soccer team, perhaps that'll make all of us more popular, not just me and Mum and Dad and Bibi. Perhaps none of us will ever be threatened or bullied or killed again, not by the government or anybody. It's a good plan, a really good plan. But to make it work, I need practice. That's the end of chapter 8. Do you think it's a good plan? Like, he's 11. He's quite naive, and he thinks that if people can just love each other, or if he can impress people or be popular, then the hundreds of years of conflict that has been happening in Afghanistan will just disappear, and that his family, who are obviously a persecuted group of people, will now be accepted because he's so good at soccer. That's where his mind is going to, which is very interesting. I really like it as well that we're reading this in English and he's saying I don't speak English, and you just keep going with it, because of course he wouldn't be speaking English. He's thinking like we can only read it in English, but he'll be thinking in Afghanistani, which is pretty awesome too. All right, moving on, chapter 9. I think it's pretty short, and then, and then we'll end there. Okay, here we go. This is the perfect way to get extra soccer practice. Wait till everyone in the house is asleep, then sneak outside and dribble down the middle of the street like I'm doing now. The neighbours are all asleep too, so you don't get arrested and imprisoned unless you make too much noise. You know, cheer your own ball tricks or describe your own footwork in a loud commentator's voice. I'm not doing that. Silent skill, that's me. Off the foot, onto the knee, onto the head, back onto the foot. It's also a really good way for a person who can't sleep to take his mind off things he's a bit worried about, like why mum and dad aren't back yet. Out here, he might be able to see if they're in any danger. This moonlight's almost as bright as Manchester United Stadium with the electricity switched on. Foot, knee, head, foot. Hello, Sir Alex Ferguson, manager of Manchester United. I didn't see you there. A place in the Manchester United youth team? Oh, why, I'd be delighted. Thank you very much. You're right, Sir Alex. That would make the government a bit embarrassed. They'd try to persecute our family. Jamal, what are you doing? A voice hissing at me out of the shadows. I freeze, my legs trembling, my guts knotted. I peer into the gloom. You're playing soccer in the street, hisses the voice. Relief gushes through me. Mum? I whisper. Dad? But it isn't either of them. It's Bibby. She's come towards me, eyes as big as stadium floodlights. Keep your voice down, I whisper. She doesn't. I saw you creeping out of the cellar, she says accusingly. I sigh. That's exactly what I hoped wouldn't happen. That's why I didn't risk opening my rucksack and making a noise getting my ball. That's why I borrowed Yusuf's. That's Yusuf's ball, says Bibby, even more accusingly. I know, I say, wondering how I can get her back into the cellar without waking up the neighbours. Where are Mum and Dad? She demands. Her eyes have a dangerous glint that means either tears or violence. I explain about Mum and Dad going to warn the parents of the other kids from school. They'll be safe, I say. They're in disguise. They borrowed robes from Yusuf's grandfather. It's not true, but I can see it makes Bibby feel better. And in a weird way, it makes me feel better too. I want to play, says Bibby. Before I can stop her, she flicks the ball away from my feet. I lunge at it, but she sidesteps my tackle and steers the ball down the street. She turns and dribbles towards me. Come on, she says, get it from me. I go in with my fast tackle, but she flicks the ball over my ankle, runs around the other side of me and traps the ball under her foot. I stare at her, half angry, half grinning. This is amazing. My sister is a soccer natural. A wonderful thought hits me. We can do it together. We can improve our skills and impress the government and start a national team and win the hearts of all Afghans together. When the government sees how talented Bibby is, they'll change their minds about girls playing soccer. They'll have to. Penalty shot, says Bibby, eyes gleaming. She steps back, hitches up her skirt, runs at the ball and boots it. Hard. The ball flies up the street. For a sickening second, I think it's going to smash through Mr. Nass's one unbroken window, but it curves away from his house and sails all the way up the street and thumps into the door of our house. It's the most incredible kick I've seen in my life. Wow, I whisper. Then our house explodes. A white flash lights up the whole village and half the desert. A roar of wind smashes into us and flings us both to the ground. I roll onto Bibby and try to cover as much of her body with mine as I can while the air rips at us and stones rain down on us. People are screaming and running out of houses. Get off, yells Bibby. You're squashing my head. I roll over and peer down the street through the dust. Our house is gone. Where it was is just a dark gap between the other houses. Rubble is lying where Dad used to park the taxi. I stare, speechless, ears ringing, trying to take it all in. My mouth is open and full of grit. It was a hard kick, but it wasn't that hard. Then I hear engines revving. 2 trucks are speeding away down the side street. Someone is pulling me and Bibby to our feet. It's Dad. His eyes are wide and he's breathing hard and staring at the trucks as well. Pigs, he hisses. Dad hardly ever uses bad language like that. Unlike most taxi drivers, he never swears at other drivers. There's really only one thing he ever swears about. That's how I realise what's happened. The government has blown up our house. And that's the end of the chapter. We're going to stop there for the reading for today. Did you expect that the house would explode? Did you expect that by running a school, a government would turn up and bomb your house, potentially killing you and any of the inhabitants, and setting a whole street on fire because you've decided to have an illegal school and that you're educating girls? What does this say about society? What does this say about the parents and the risk that they took and the risk that they are taking, and Yusuf's grandfather and all of that sort of stuff? It says quite a lot about their spirit and their how admirable they are as people. It's a very interesting part of this book. He's also obsessed with soccer. I'm not that into soccer, but it's okay. I'm kind of getting there. Bibi is clearly a heaps better soccer player as well. All right, that will do for today. And what we're going to do now is I'll just stop the recording. Hang on, stop recording. And then, oh no, wait, I'll give you that information first of all. And so that's all for today for this session. Make sure you're taking notes. Make sure you're writing stuff down. Go back if you need to. Read along if you want to. And make sure that when you're taking your notes, you're writing your Cornell notes, you're writing down things that answer or will help you answer the question. When you're choosing quotes is anything that is written here. It doesn't have to be lines of dialogue between characters. A bunch of people get that mucked up where they think, I can only write down what someone has said. No, you don't. Anything that is written down in here. So, for example, if you wanted to use, so you admire the dad for one of the questions, the dad is someone that you admire. Dad hardly ever uses bad language like that is something that you're going to use. I don't know, just let's go with it. Then you can, he hasn't said that, but it's written in the book. So that's a quote that you can use. I'm going to link you to I'll talk to you about that later. All right. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you later. Stop recording now. Bye.